Well, you can pretty much say America's really gone off the rails is when you got white women scared to deal with the police. That things are so bad because of the tensions, well, more than tensions, actual killings of innocent black people with the police officers, and not to mention the white woman from Australia that got killed like a couple of months back, like 2 months ago. That's when you know things have really, really gotten bad. It's like Professor Black Truth always said. The police have lost the trust and respect of the people. That's pretty much a given. For these things to keep going around, that's pretty much obvious. But the thing is, this has been going on for decades. I know it was like this in the 90s when I was growing up as a teenager. I saw how the police did. There's been situations, I've just seen situations like that all around, which I don't want to really get into, but I've actually seen these situations witnessed in my neighborhood growing up. You know, people who did nothing, had nothing to do with anything, getting harassed by the police, even getting beat up by the police. But I digress. The reason why I want to bring this video up today, we're going to lead to a very interesting video that I saw this morning when I woke up. Pretty much in Marietta, Georgia, there was a police lieutenant in Georgia who was recorded doing a traffic stop. Pretty much, he pulled this white woman over, and turns out the white woman really wasn't the driver. She was actually the passenger, by the way. Now, keep in mind, this all happened in July 2016. There's a Lieutenant Greg Abbot pulled the couple over, I should say. Now, just to give you a caveat to make sure you understand what's going on, there's also a Greg Abbott that's in Texas, by the way, who people asking for him to resign for how he handled the floodings in Houston that's going on right now. So I don't want that name to get confused with that name. So it almost threw me off. I had to make sure I was reading everything correctly. But this Greg Abbott is from Marietta, Georgia, Cobb County. And he's a lieutenant police officer who's been on the force for 28 years. Basically, going back to it, what happened was, during the stop, the woman didn't want to reach for her cell phone. She even told Lieutenant Greg Abbott, I do not want to reach for my cell phone because I've seen the videos of what's happening to people getting murdered for reaching for a cell phone. And the cop, the cop sit here and said, well, you know, we only kill black people. He said, you're not black, are you? No. In fact, let me just go ahead and just read exactly. That's pretty much what he said. Yeah, we only shoot black people. That's pretty much where we need to be said. Now, maybe he thought he was being tongue in cheek, and maybe he was. But as far as I'm concerned, and considering what the tensions was going on with the police and everything that's been going on, nah, I'm just gonna chalk it up and say he meant what he said. He definitely meant what he said. Now, what I found interesting was, because this happened in July 2016, it's now August 31st, 2017. It took a year and 2 months for this footage, dash cam footage to get released. And the question I'm wondering is, who released the footage? That's what I found very interesting. And the other thing I found interesting was, they had to have known about it way before this point for it to get released now. But needless to say, the NAACP is calling for the lieutenant to be fired, Greg Abbott to be fired. And according to this, the television station, which was WSB-TV reports, it submitted an open records request for the video, after which the department opened an internal investigation. So that's telling me that this particular person has been involved in some shit for going on quite some time, and now they opened an investigation. And because that investigation occurred, they was able to get the tape, and that's how this footage got out. So this thing just went worse. So my question is, what dirt was he doing before this all happened? That's the main question you have to ask yourself. This man's been on the force for 28 years, I might add. 28 years, in case you didn't catch that. Now, of course, the police chief commended the officer's words in the email statement. He said it was also a part of a DUI stop. And he says, no matter what the context, statements like these are unacceptable and are not indicative of any type of culture we are trying to facilitate here in the police department, as well as within the county, Register said. Now, of course, the police chief is going to probably try to save face on this. Again, something had to been going down for this to get to this point now, because they already had an investigation on him. And all of a sudden, they asked video, now this got out. So, again, what was he doing before all this happened? I can only begin to imagine. Now, here's the kicker of all this. He's going to remain on administrative duty this entire time during the investigation. Administrative duty. Not administrative leave, which would have been bad enough to get paid, But just administrative duties basically means he's just doing desk work in the police station. He's just doing desk work, and he's still getting paid while this investigation is going on. Now, the driver and the woman that was in the car, they want this whole thing to go away, and they feel like, oh, I think the cop was just trying to be cynical and sarcastic with us. They didn't want any trouble. They're trying to do whatever to save face. And I'm like, y'all white. Y'all don't have to pretty much worry about any of this. But this type of behavior shows the mind state of all these race soldiers pretending to be police officers. This shows you the mind state of nothing else. Which, again, is not a surprise to anybody who's black, who's seen it growing up in their lives. It's not a surprise. But, and we've been saying this for years. Not only that, there's even been FBI reports saying that race soldiers infiltrated all branches of law enforcement, but yet black people were just being paranoid. We're just being paranoid. We just need to pull ourselves up by the bootstraps. That kind of talk. But this just shows you vindictive how this really are, and you got to be careful. Definitely have to be careful. But I just want to weigh my thoughts on it. Y'all go ahead and leave your likes and comments, and I'll get at y'all at the next one.